There comes a moment in life when you look at yourself in the mirror and ask, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep falling short, no matter how hard I try? Why do I end up back in the same cycle? Different faces, different jobs, different cities, but always the same result. You've been told it's failure. You've been told maybe you're unlucky, maybe you're not talented enough, maybe life just doesn't favor you. But the truth, the hard, uncomfortable truth, is that you are not failing. You are sabotaging yourself. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That one sentence explains the quiet tragedy of millions of lives. People don't fail because the world is against them. They fail because they are repeating unconscious patterns. They fail because their shadow, the part of them they refuse to face, is running the show. Think about it. How many times have you started something with passion only to stop halfway? How many times have you pushed away love when it finally came close? How many times have you been on the edge of success only to procrastinate, self-destruct, or walk away? That wasn't fate, that wasn't bad luck. That was sabotage. And sabotage isn't loud. It's quiet. It comes in excuses that sound reasonable. I'll start tomorrow. I'm not ready yet. Maybe it's not the right time. What if people laugh? It comes in the way you choose the wrong partner, the wrong job, the wrong habit, over and over again, while convincing yourself it's just coincidence. But Jung would say it's not coincidence. It's unconscious repetition. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a man who desperately wants love. He says he longs for connection. Yet every time a woman gets close, he finds a reason to leave. He tells himself, she's not the one. I'm just not ready. Something feels off. But the truth, he's sabotaging himself, because deep down he believes no one will ever stay. And so he makes sure no one does. Then he sits alone, shaking his head, saying, "See, I was right. Love isn't for me." Or imagine a woman with dreams of building something big. A business, a career, a future. She's talented, intelligent, and full of ideas. But when the moment to act comes, she freezes. She says, "I'll wait until I feel more confident." Years pass. Her dream stays locked inside her. She calls it fate. She calls it bad timing, but in reality, she sabotaged her own greatness. Does this sound familiar? It should, because every single one of us has sabotaged ourselves in some way. We've lied to ourselves. We've chosen comfort over courage. We've chosen the past over the future. And then we've cried, "Why me?" There Jung believed that every one of us carries a shadow, and the shadow is not evil. It is simply the part of ourselves we don't want to see. Our fears, our insecurities, our childhood wounds, our secret doubts. And the more we deny it, the stronger it becomes. The more we hide it, the more it controls us. That's what sabotage really is. It's the shadow pulling the strings behind the scenes. And here's the shocking part: sabotage doesn't come to ruin you. It comes to protect you. Your unconscious mind thinks it's keeping you safe. Safe from failure, safe from rejection, safe from being seen. But in protecting you, it imprisons you. It locks you inside cycles you can't escape. So, when you look at your life and see patterns, love that always slips away, money that always disappears, opportunities that always collapse, that's not the world punishing you. That's not God abandoning you. That is your shadow begging to be seen. You are not failing. You are hiding. You are holding yourself back. You are protecting yourself with the very sabotage that's destroying you. And the moment you face that truth, the moment you stop blaming fate and start seeing your own patterns, you begin to wake up. You begin to take your power back. Because you were never powerless. You are simply unconscious. And once you bring the unconscious into the light, everything changes. There's a quiet truth about human beings that most people are afraid to face. You are not failing because the world is against you. You are not failing because life is unfair. You are not failing because you lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. You are failing because you are standing in your own way. You are sabotaging yourself. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Think about that. How many times have you told yourself, "This is just my destiny. This is just how things are for me. This is my bad luck." But what if it isn't bad luck? What if it is your own unconscious mind pulling the strings, making you repeat patterns you don't even see? Self-sabotage is not loud. It's not obvious. It creeps in silently. It hides in excuses. It lives in procrastination. It whispers in your mind when you're about to take a risk. What if you're not good enough? What if you fail? What if people laugh? And so you stop. You retreat. You stay in the safe place, and then later you tell yourself, "See, I failed again." But Jung would argue you didn't fail. You betrayed yourself. You cut your own wings before you even tried to fly. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a man who wants love. He longs for connection. Yet every time someone gets close to him, he pulls away. He tells himself, "They'll leave me anyway. They'll hurt me." So he sabotages intimacy. He destroys it before it can destroy him. Then he sits alone and says, "See, no one ever stays. Love is not for me." That is not fate. That is unconscious fear ruling his life. Or imagine a woman who dreams of success. She wants to start a business, to step into her power, to shine. But inside, there is a hidden voice, an old memory, maybe from childhood, that tells her, "You're not worthy. Who do you think you are?" So she hesitates. She delays, she never begins. Years pass, and she says, "I guess I wasn't meant for greatness." But in truth, she wasn't blocked by the world. She was blocked by herself. Jung believed that every one of us carries a shadow. The shadow is the part of you that you deny, repress, and push away. And here's the dangerous part. When you do not face your shadow, it controls you. If you repress anger, it sabotages your relationships. If you repress fear, it sabotages your growth. If you repress desire, it sabotages your fulfillment. So what do? Jung's wisdom tells us that the first step is awareness. Look at your patterns. Are you always finding reasons not to start? Are you always choosing the wrong partners? Are you always giving up just before things get better? That's not coincidence. That's self-sabotage. And here is the hard truth: self-sabotage is comfortable. Yes, it ruins your dreams, but it also keeps you safe. It keeps you from being vulnerable, from risking rejection, from failing publicly. But it also robs you of life. Jung believed that wholeness, true healing, comes when you stop running from your shadow and start integrating it. This means you admit, "Yes, I am afraid. Yes, I am insecure. Yes, I am imperfect." But you do not let those truths define you. You face them, and in facing them, you take away their power. You're not failing because the universe has conspired against you. You're failing because, deep down, you have not yet decided that you are worthy of success, of love, of peace, of happiness. But the good news is this: self-sabotage is not permanent. The moment you become conscious of your own patterns, you begin to break them. The moment you say, "This is not fate, it is me," you regain your power. Carl Jung's entire psychology rests on this principle, that the human being is not a victim of fate, but a participant in creation. And that means you are not doomed. You are simply asleep to your own self-sabotage. Wake up. Stop calling it fate. Stop calling it bad luck. Stop calling it failure. Call it what it is, sabotage, and then choose differently. Because you are not failing. You are hiding from yourself. And the day you stop hiding, everything will change. You're not failing, you're sabotaging yourself. And the saddest part is, most people will live their entire lives without ever realizing it. They will go to their graves believing that life simply wasn't fair to them. They'll say, I never had the right opportunities. I never met the right people. I never got my chance. But Jung would look at them and say, no, it wasn't that the opportunity never came. It's that when it came, you weren't ready to receive it. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who had a dream of becoming a writer. He had ideas, passion, and talent. But every time he sat down to write, he would get distracted. He would scroll endlessly, watch television, hang out with friends, do anything except face the blank page. Why? Because deep inside, he carried a belief that if he tried and failed, it would prove that he wasn't good enough. So he sabotaged himself before life could. He said, tomorrow I'll start. Next week I'll begin. And years passed. His talent never bloomed. Not because he didn't have it, but because he buried it with his own fear. Jung's psychology teaches us that the unconscious mind is like a puppeteer. It pulls strings silently, and you don't even know it. You think you're making conscious choices, but really you're repeating patterns that were programmed into you long ago. A child who grew up hearing, you're lazy, you'll never succeed, will sabotage their own work ethic. A child who grew up feeling abandoned may sabotage every relationship just to avoid being abandoned again. You see, it's not that you're failing, it's that you're repeating. And this is why Jung's work was revolutionary. He said that until you confront these patterns, until you bring the unconscious into the light, you will continue to live the same story, only with different characters. The job changes, the partner changes, the city changes, but the pattern remains. That is sabotage. Let's make this real. How many times have you set a goal, lose weight, start a business, write a book, save money, and then found yourself breaking your own promise? You eat the food you swore you'd avoid. You spend the money you meant to save. You sleep in when you vowed to wake up early. And afterward, you feel shame. You say, why do I keep doing this to myself? That voice, that frustration, that's the cry of a conscious mind watching the unconscious sabotage it. Jung would tell you stop blaming the outside world and turn inward. The saboteur is not your boss, not your parents, not your partner. The saboteur is inside you. But here is the hope: the saboteur is not your enemy. It is simply a part of you that is afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, afraid of being seen. And fear is powerful, but it is also a liar. The truth is, your potential is vast. Jung believed every person carried the possibility of transformation. But transformation is never comfortable. It requires you to confront the parts of yourself you've spent your whole life running from. It requires you to look in the mirror and admit, I have been the one holding me back. This is why self-sabotage is so painful. It forces you to admit responsibility. And responsibility is heavy, but it's also liberating. Because the moment you admit it's you, you also admit it can change. Let's go deeper. Jung spoke about the concept of individuation, the process of becoming whole, of integrating all parts of yourself, even the ones you don't like. That means taking your shadow, your fears, your insecurities, your doubts, and not hiding them anymore. It means saying, yes, I am afraid. Yes, I have failed before. Yes, I am flawed. But those things do not define me. They teach me. When you reach that level of awareness, sabotage begins to lose its grip, because sabotage feeds on denial. It feeds on you pretending you're fine, while your unconscious mind runs the show. But the moment you shine a light on it, it begins to shrink. Let me ask you, how many relationships have you ruined, not because the other person was toxic, but because you pushed them away out of fear? How many opportunities have you walked past, not because they weren't real, but because you told yourself, "I'm not ready"? How many times have you been at the edge of breakthrough, but you pulled yourself back because you were secretly more comfortable in failure than in success? You see, Jung would say, success is terrifying for the unconscious mind, because success means you must grow. Success means you must shed old identities. Success means you can no longer hide in excuses. And so, unconsciously, you sabotage it. But let me tell you something powerful. The opposite of sabotage is surrender. Not surrender to fear, but surrender to growth. Surrender to discomfort. Surrender to the unknown. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That is the journey. To stop sabotaging the self you could be, and to step fully into it. And here's the truth that will set you free: you are not failing. You are preparing. Every moment you catch yourself sabotaging is a chance to awaken. Every time you repeat an old pattern, you are being shown your shadow. The sabotage itself is the lesson. So instead of hating yourself for it, thank it. Because it is showing you exactly where you need to grow. The day you stop calling it failure and start calling it sabotage is the day you take your power back, because failure feels final. Sabotage feels intentional, and if it is intentional, even unconsciously, it can be changed. So what do you do now? You watch yourself. You observe your patterns. You listen to your excuses, and you ask yourself, is this truth, or is this sabotage? Because deep inside, you are not broken. You are not doomed. You are not failing. You are simply sabotaging yourself out of fear. And the moment you choose courage over fear, you will realize you were never failing. You were only waiting to awaken. You are not failing. You are sabotaging yourself. But here's the paradox: sabotage is not random. Sabotage is not meaningless. It is your shadow trying to protect you. Strange, isn't it? The very force that is ruining your life thinks it is keeping you safe. Jung believed that the psyche always seeks balance. Your conscious mind says, "I want success, I want love, I want freedom." But your unconscious mind whispers, "If you get those things, you might get hurt. Better to stay here, in the known, in the predictable, even if it is painful." So sabotage is your unconscious bargaining with life. It says, "I will sacrifice my dream in order to avoid my fear." Think about how this shows up in relationships. You want love, yet you pick partners who are emotionally unavailable. Why? Because your unconscious is comfortable there. It says, if they are unavailable, I never have to fully open my heart. I never risk total rejection. So you sabotage intimacy while pretending to seek it. Then, when it ends, you tell yourself, "Love is not for me. I just attract the wrong people." No, you attract your shadow, not your fate. Or think about money. You want abundance, yet every time you get close to saving or investing, you find a way to lose it, spend it, destroy it. Why? Because your unconscious has linked wealth with danger. Maybe you grew up watching money cause fights, betrayal, or loss. So now, unconsciously, you sabotage your own financial growth, because to your shadow, wealth equals risk. This is why Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That line should shake you. Because it means most people aren't living, they're repeating. They are living inside an old script written by fear, written by trauma, written by childhood wounds, written by generations before them. And until they wake up, they will keep calling it destiny. But destiny is not repetition. Destiny is creation. Let me share something deeper. Jung often spoke of archetypes, the inner characters that live within us all. The hero, the victim, the lover, the rebel, the child, the sage. These archetypes rise up in different moments of life, but sabotage usually comes from one archetype overpowering the others. The victim says, "Why bother? Life always hurts me." The inner child says, "I'm not ready, I'm too small." The rebel says, "If I succeed, I'll lose my freedom." These voices sabotage the hero within you, the part that wants to rise, to conquer, to create. And here's the deeper truth. Every act of sabotage is a dialogue between your archetypes. It's not just you being weak, it's you being torn. One part of you longs for expansion, another part of you clings to safety. This is why so many people start strong but never finish. Starting is the conscious decision, the dreamer within you stepping forward. Finishing requires facing the unconscious, the shadow that says, "Stop, this is dangerous." And most people stop, not because they're incapable, but because they're unwilling to confront the inner war. But what if you did? What if you could look your saboteur in the eye and say, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I no longer need your protection. I am ready now." That is individuation, the process Jung described as becoming whole. You don't kill the saboteur, you integrate it. You acknowledge its fear, but you lead anyway. Let me ask you something personal. How many times in your life have you been at the edge of breakthrough and then suddenly something happens? You get sick, you get distracted, you fight with someone, you procrastinate. And just like that, the opportunity passes. You call it coincidence. But maybe it was sabotage. Maybe your unconscious couldn't handle stepping into the unknown. This is why people keep repeating cycles. The cycle of almost getting there, almost making it, almost finding the right partner, almost reaching their dream. And then, collapse. The collapse isn't failure. It's sabotage. Now imagine this: what would happen if you stopped sabotaging yourself? What would happen if you stopped fearing success as much as you fear failure? What would happen if, for once, you didn't run from your potential? Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." That is why sabotage exists. Because true success requires you to see yourself fully, to accept not only your light but also your shadow, to say, "Yes, I am capable. Yes, I am worthy. Yes, I am powerful." And that truth is scarier than any failure, because when you admit your power, you no longer have excuses. You can no longer say, "It's bad luck." You must admit, "It was me all along." And most people would rather keep failing than carry that weight of truth. But you, listening now, you are being invited to break the pattern, to make the unconscious conscious, to stop sabotaging yourself and start creating yourself. So the next time you catch yourself procrastinating, withdrawing, rejecting love, destroying progress, sabotaging your own success, pause. Don't condemn yourself. Don't shame yourself. Ask, what is my shadow afraid of? What is this sabotage protecting me from? And then thank it. And then choose differently. Because you are not failing. You are awakening. And every act of sabotage is just a shadow begging to be seen, begging to be healed. The question is, will you keep calling it fate? Or will you finally take back the pen and write a new story? You are not failing. You are sabotaging yourself. And the day you realize this truth is the day your entire life shifts. Because once you see it, you can never unsee it. The unconscious becomes conscious. The hidden becomes visible. And once it's visible, it loses its power. Think of a shadow in a dark room. When the lights are off, it looks like a monster. It controls your movements. It frightens you. It makes you paralyzed. But when you turn on the light, you realize it was only a coat hanging on a chair. That is sabotage. It looks like fate, it looks like failure, it looks like doom until you bring awareness. Then you see it clearly. Carl Jung often spoke about the journey of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole. But wholeness does not come from perfection. Wholeness comes from integration, from taking your light and your shadow, your strengths and your fears, your past and your future, and uniting them. When you integrate, you no longer fight yourself. You no longer sabotage yourself. You walk with yourself instead of against yourself. But this path is not easy. Most people avoid it their whole lives. They keep distracting themselves, numbing themselves, blaming others, or waiting for luck. But the brave, the ones who dare to look inside, discover something life-changing, that the enemy was never out there. The enemy was within, and once they face that enemy, it transforms into an ally. Let me give you a story. A woman once told me about her endless cycle with relationships. She said, "Every man I meet either cheats on me, leaves me, or refuses to commit. I must be cursed." But when we dug deeper, she realized that every time a man truly showed her love, she pushed him away. Why? Because as a child, she was abandoned by her father. Her unconscious mind had linked love with loss. So she sabotaged love to protect herself from loss. The pattern wasn't fate, it was fear. The moment she realized this, she stopped running. She faced her wound. She began to heal. And for the first time, she allowed love to stay. That is the power of consciousness. To see your patterns clearly. To see how you've been the one writing the same ending over and over. And it's not just in love. It's in everything. How many people sabotage their health by eating what they know will harm them? How many sabotage their careers by procrastinating on the very work that could set them free? How many sabotage their own peace by replaying old stories of hurt instead of letting them go? Sabotage is everywhere, and if you're honest, you'll see it in your own life too. But let me give you hope. Self-sabotage does not mean you are broken. It means you are protecting yourself with outdated strategies. The child in you once needed those strategies to survive. But now, as an adult, they are cages. They are not keeping you safe. They are keeping you small, and you were not born to be small. You were born to expand, to love, to create, to rise. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." And that's exactly what you must do. Stop dreaming about a future that never comes. Stop waiting for someone else to rescue you. Look inside, see your patterns, see your sabotage, see your shadow, and awaken. Because once you awaken, life changes. Opportunities that slipped past you will begin to stay. Relationships that fell apart will begin to deepen. Success that always seemed one step away will finally arrive. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you stopped working against yourself. You see, the greatest tragedy is not failure. The greatest tragedy is never discovering how much of your failure was self-chosen. And the greatest victory is not winning over the world. It is winning over yourself. So I want to leave you with this truth. You are not failing. You have never failed. You have only sabotaged. And even in that sabotage, there was meaning. It showed you your fear, your wounds, your shadow. But now, the choice is yours. You can keep living blind, calling it fate, or you can awaken, face your shadow, and claim your power. Carl Jung believed that the human spirit was capable of endless transformation. And so are you. No matter how many times you have sabotaged yourself, you can begin again. No matter how many cycles you've repeated, you can break free. But you must decide, right here, right now, will you keep calling it failure, or will you finally see it for what it is? Sabotage. Because once you do, you will never be the same.